Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how you can install and set up Flutter on your Ubuntu operating system. I'm also going to show you how you can create your first Flutter app and run it on the Android emulator. So let's get started and let's see how we can do it. So first of all, open your favorite browser and search for install Flutter. And the first link which will appear here will be from docs.flutter.dev /get started /install. If you don't land to this page, and if you come to this page docs.flutter.dev, then you will see this get started option here. So just click on it and you will be redirected to this page. So here, as I mentioned, we want to install the setup for Linux. So I'm going to click on Linux here. And here we want to develop Android apps using Flutter. So I'm going to click on Android here. And then here, when we scroll down a little bit, you will see the hardware requirements for running Flutter development environment on your Ubuntu operating system. So make sure you have all these minimum requirements. And then you will also see the software requirements here. You can also see here under operating system, Flutter supports Debian Linux 11 or later and Ubuntu Linux 20.04 LTS or later. So for now I have Ubuntu 24.04 LTS version, so it'll work on my Ubuntu operating system also. Then you have this development tools section. So to develop Flutter on Linux, verify all these tools are installed. So let's start with this command here. So I'm going to just copy this command and then click on this show apps icon and then click on terminal here, which is going to open the terminal. And here just paste this command and then press enter, and you can see all these commands are available on my Ubuntu operating system. Then let's move down. Now in the second command, it says we need to have these packages installed. These are curl git unzip xz zip and libglu1-mesa. So we are going to just copy these commands and paste it into our terminal. The first command is sudo apt update and sudo apt get upgrade. So let's give this command here and then press enter and give your Ubuntu's password, which you use to log into your Ubuntu operating system, and then wait for these commands to finish. So I have already ran this command a few hours ago, so it doesn't take too much time on my terminal, but it might take some time on your Ubuntu operating system. Now let's move to the second command, which is this one. So it's going to install all these tools which are mentioned here. So I'm going to just copy and paste this command and then press enter. And it will start the installation of all these tools if they are not installed already. So once those tools are installed, let's move to the next step. And it says to develop Android apps, install the following prerequisite for Android Studio. So because we are going to install the Android Studio for setting up the Flutter development environment, we need to install all these prerequisite for installing the Android Studio. So I'm going to copy this command and then paste it in the terminal once again and then press enter, which is also going to install all these tools if they are not already installed, right? So once all these commands are finished, let's move to the installation part of Android Studio. So for that, you can open your favorite browser and search for Android Studio, and the first link which will appear here will be from developer.android.com /studio. I'm going to just click on this link. Here I want to check which version is the latest version of Android Studio, which is available on their official website. Here when I click on download Android Studio Jellyfish, you can see the version which is available at the time of making this video is 2023.3.1. Now we are not going to use this download button to download the Android Studio. We are going to use the Snap package manager to download Android Studio on our Ubuntu operating system. Now, if you don't know what is Snap, Snap is the package manager which is created by Canonical, which is also the creator of Ubuntu. So, first of all, we are going to find out which version of Android Studio is available using Snap package manager. When you install the newer version of Ubuntu, you will have the Snap pre-installed on your Ubuntu operating system. So just open your terminal by clicking on the show apps icon and then click on terminal option. And here you can write snap find and then space in the double quotes. You can write Android hyphen studio here and then press enter, and it's going to show you the version of Android Studio which is available via the Snap, and you can see the same version is available via the Snap package manager also, so it's always up to date. Now let's see how we can install Android Studio using Snap package manager. So for that you can search for Snap Android Studio, and the first link which will appear here will be from snapcraft.io/Android-studio. So I'm going to click on this link and you can see the different versions which are available, but you don't need to worry about them. You just need to click on install option here and then copy this command, which is sudo snap install Android Studio space hyphen hyphen classic. So I'm going to copy this command and then paste it into my terminal and then press enter. And here I need to provide the password of my Ubuntu operating system, which I use to log into my Ubuntu operating system, and then press enter here, which is going to start the download and installation process. So you can see this progress bar also. So we want to wait for this progress bar to reach to the 100% mark. So now the installation of Android Studio has been finished, and I can see this message which says Android Studio from Snapcrafters installed. So now we can open the Android Studio. First of all, I'm going to minimize this terminal and then click on show apps icon, and I can see this Android Studio icon here. I can also search for Android Studio and I can see the result here. So let me click on this icon here, which is going to start the Android Studio. So for the first time when you start Android Studio, it will ask you if you want to import settings. If you have any previous settings, you can import the settings. For now, I'm installing Android Studio for the first time on this Ubuntu machine. So I'm going to just leave it as default, which is do not import settings, and then click on OK here. And now for the first time, it's also going to ask you to help improve Android Studio. I don't want to send any statistics to Google, so I'm going to click on don't send. And now you can see the welcome window for the Android Studio. So you can see Android Studio setup wizard here. I'm going to click on next here, and then I'm going to select the standard option here and then click on next. And then you can verify your settings and then click on next here. And then you need to accept these license terms and conditions. So I'm going to click on accept here and then click on next and then click on finish, which is also going to start the download of some components, and it's going to install those components. So at this point, just wait for a few minutes until this installation is finished. So now the installation of all the components is finished. So I'm going to click on finish here. And now you can see the Android Studio has been started. Here you can see you can create your first project by clicking on this new project icon. You can also customize the settings by clicking on this customize option. By default, the theme is dark here. You can also select the light theme or light with light header theme and other themes which are available here. I'm going to just leave it as default, which is dark theme for now. And then you can also change the font size from here, and you can also change some other settings by clicking on the other settings here. Now in the project section, I also have this more actions option. So when I click on more actions option, you can see I can add the virtual device by clicking on virtual device manager. So here there will be one default device. So I'm going to click on virtual device manager here. So you can see By default, Android Studio comes with one virtual device. So let me start this device first, and let me see if we can launch this device successfully or not. So you can see it says emulator running in nested virtualization. So you need to have virtualization enabled here. I'm going to click on OK. And then it also says your GPU driver information. I'm going to click on OK here. And after a few seconds, it's going to start. So this emulator is working fine. So I can close this emulator for now. So once this emulator is closed, I'm going to close this device manager window. So once the installation of Android Studio is finished, let's move to the documentation and let's see what's the next step. So we have already installed the Android Studio. Now it says configure a text editor or IDE. So we have installed the Android Studio. So we need to install this plugin on Android Studio. So let's do that. So to install this plugin on Android Studio, you have this section which is called plugins, and here you will find the Flutter plugin also. You can also search for Flutter plugin, and you can see this one is the most popular. So we are going to install this Flutter plugin. So I'm going to click on install here and then click on accept here, which is going to install this plugin. And once this plugin is installed, we are going to click on the restart IDE button and then click on restart, which is going to restart our Android Studio. And then we will see that this plugin is installed. So Flutter plugin is installed now with Android Studio. Now let's move to the next step in the documentation of Flutter. So now let's move towards the installation of Flutter SDK. Here you have two sections. One is use Visual Studio to install and other is download and install. We are going to choose this one which says download and install. And here we are going to download this Flutter Linux stable tar.xz file. So I'm going to click on this button here, which is going to start the download of this tar file. It's around 715 megabytes. So wait for this download to finish. So now I can see the download of this tar.xz file has been finished. Now you can see the next step which says create a folder where you want to install Flutter. Consider creating a directory at user/bin, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to use this command to just extract our Flutter SDK in user bin directory as recommended. So just copy this command, and because we want to extract this directory in the user/bin directory, we might require the root permission. So we will run this command with the sudo in front of this command. So just write sudo and then paste the command and then press enter. And if it asks for your password, just give your Ubuntu's password which you use to log into your Ubuntu operating system and wait for this command to finish. So once this file is extracted, let's cd into the user bin folder to see where this file is extracted and what's the name of that Flutter directory. So I'm going to cd into /user/bin and I'm going to give the ls command here. So you can see the Flutter directory is available here, right? So we are going to go inside this directory. So let me just clear the terminal. I'm still in my user/bin folder, right? So let me cd into the Flutter folder now. And inside the Flutter folder, you will see all these setup files related to Flutter, right? So once you see the Flutter directory in your user bin folder, let's move to the documentation and let's see what's the next step. Now it says add Flutter to the path. So you need to first recognize which shell is your primary shell or the default shell. So you can give this command to recognize that. And most of the cases in Ubuntu operating system, you will have this bash as your default shell. So I'm going to use the bash command here, which is this one. But if you have any other default shell, you can just click on show that shell command and then use that in your terminal. So in my case, the shell is bash. So I'm going to copy this command and then paste it into my terminal and then press enter. And the path of the Flutter binary is set into my bash profile file. So once you are finished with this export path command in your bash shell, you might need to reload your shell configuration using source and the path to your .bash underscore profile file. So I'm going to reload the shell configuration. Now I can use the flutter command. So I'm going to give this flutter version command and then press enter, and it's going to give me the version of Flutter which is installed on my Ubuntu operating system. So you can see Flutter 3.22.2 is installed on my Ubuntu operating system, right? So here I'm going to scroll down a little, and then it says configure the Android toolchain in Android Studio, and we need to have all these tools in our Android Studio. So to verify if all these tools are there in our Android Studio, just open your Android Studio once again. Let me minimize this browser here. And when you open Android Studio for the first time, under project, when you see this more actions option, just click on it, and then you will see this SDK manager here, right? So click on SDK manager, and once this SDK manager opens, click on SDK tools, and here you will see all these checkboxes, right? So in my case, I can see that Android emulator and Android SDK platform tools are already installed, but I still need to install this Android SDK command line tool. I need the Android SDK command line tools. That's why I have checked this option. So we need these tools, right? Android SDK platform, which we already have, then command line tool, build tools, platform tools, and emulator. So let's verify this. So this is build tools, which is already selected, right? Then Android SDK command line tools, Android emulator, and platform tools. So now I have selected all four of them. So I'm going to click on apply here and then click on OK, which is going to install all these tools if they are not already installed. So once you see the status installed in front of all these four tools which are shown in the documentation, you can click on OK here. So now we can move to the next step. So I'm going to scroll down a little, and now in the next step we are going to configure the target Android device. So this we have already done. The Android Studio comes with the default emulator, and we are going to use the same emulator in our case. So I'm going to move to the next step here, and here we need to agree with the Android license. So to agree with the Android license, you just need to copy this command and paste it into your terminal. So I'm going to copy this command, and let me just clear the terminal here, and then paste this flutter doctor space hyphen hyphen Android hyphen licenses, and then press enter here, which is going to ask us to agree with those license terms and conditions. And now I can see this question which says review licenses that have not been accepted. I'm going to press Y here and then press enter, and then you just need to press Y again and again until you see this message which says all SDK package licenses accepted. So once that's done, I'm going to clear the terminal, and then let's move to the next part of the documentation. So now we have installed all the dependencies and tools which we require to set up the Flutter app with Android Studio. The last step here is this flutter doctor command. This flutter doctor command is going to validate all the components of the Flutter development, and it's going to show you the status if all the Flutter tools are installed, or you need to install any other tools related to Flutter. So just once again open the terminal and then give this command, which is flutter doctor, and you can see Flutter is installed, Android toolchain is installed, Chrome develop for web is installed. Linux toolchain, which is required for development of Linux desktop. For now, we will not use this feature, so we can leave it as unchecked here. We already have the Android Studio, which we will use to create our Flutter app. I also have these additional tools. You will not require these for this Flutter setup, but if you already have IntelliJ IDEA or VS Code, it's going to show you here. You already have the connected device and the network resources. So it says Flutter found one issue, and this is the issue. But for now, we are not going to fulfill this because we will not need this for our Flutter app with Android Studio. So once you see similar kind of output for Flutter Doctor command, which is shown here, we are ready to create our first Flutter app using Android Studio. So just open your Android Studio and you will see a new button here, which is new Flutter project. So I'm going to click on this new Flutter project option here, and it's going to show you this kind of new project wizard window. I'm going to choose Flutter here. So just select on Flutter here, and then it says Flutter SDK path. So if you don't see this Flutter SDK path here, click on these three dots, and then you will see the folder structure. So we have extracted our Flutter directory in the user / bin, right? So just select USR, then bin here, and you will see the Flutter option here. So just select that and then click on OK, which is going to select the Flutter SDK path, and then click on next here, and then give any name to your Flutter app. So I'm going to give the name my underscore Flutter underscore app here. Make sure that you use these underscore and not the capital letters. And you need to give this name all in small letters, and preferably if you want to separate them, use these underscores. All the other settings I'm going to leave it as default. So we are going to just test the Flutter app, right? So I'm going to leave everything as default and then click on create here, which is going to create my Flutter apps. So now you can see this Flutter app has been created, and you will see the name of your project and all the associated files related to your Flutter app. So this is coming from the Flutter plugin. I'm going to click on no thanks for now. So now we can run our Flutter app in the Android emulator. So here, first of all, we are going to run our emulator and then run the Flutter project. So you can click on device manager option here, and then you will see the Android emulator, which comes with your Android Studio. So if you see the run button in front of it, click on that run button. It will look something like this icon. So when you click on this run button, it's going to boot your default Android emulator. So right now it's booting. You will also see a section called running devices. So click on this running devices icon here, and it's going to show you your emulator which is running, right? So this means that you can start the emulator and view the Android emulator inside the Android Studio itself, right? So now once you see this running device, in the drop down menu, just select this running device, which is Pixel 3a, if it's not selected automatically. So just click on this Android emulator, and then once you have selected that, click on this run main.dart file option. So I'm going to click on this icon here, which is going to run my Flutter app. And after some time, you will see that Flutter app will launch on your Android emulator. And this is the demo home page. When you click on this plus icon, then it's going to increment this counter here, right? So everything is running fine. So this is how you can install and set up Flutter on your Ubuntu operating system and run your Flutter app in your Android emulator using Android Studio. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video.